Hello, in this video I'm going to be interviewing Peter Marsden, who's just recently taken the ADI Part 3 test. So find out how he got on and learn a little bit about his journey to get to where he's got to today. Peter completed his training with How to Drive, so he took our online training course for Part 3, the DIT Kit Part 3, which covered all the subjects and skills that he'd need to cover to become a driving instructor. Once he'd done that, we got him in car for his in-car training, and then the rest, as they say, is history. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Peter, welcome, and thanks for agreeing to be interviewed about your recent Part 3 test. So are you happy, one, that it is recorded, and two, that I share it on my YouTube for other PDIs to see, because they'll be fascinated about all this stuff?
No problem. No problem.
Happy?
Yeah. Good.
Great. So yeah, so you had a test. When was it? When did you do your Part 3?
Last Thursday. Thursday the 1st of June.
That's it. And that was your what attempts?
Second attempt.
Second attempt. And how did it go?
Let me show you. The gun is the pink one. And up comes the green one.
Imagine. So, and yeah. How did that feel now you're an ADI?
I just sat there and I kept thinking, wow, I've passed. I've done it. And I was thinking, how did I do that? You know, I mean, I do know how I did it, with, obviously with your help and Blair's help, and, but yeah, I just sat there and it just seemed to take forever to sink in. I've done it. I've done it. Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm actually proud to have that badge in that window. We've all worked hard,
Yeah.
Me, yourself, Blair teaching me, people that have been out with Ivan, Lavinia, just to mention a few,
Yeah, it's team effort, isn't it? We all just want to, you need different opinions, different points of view, and see different things. Yeah. So now you've done it. So sort of going back to the beginning, what made you want to become an ADI? Because how long ago was it when you made that decision? Like, was it a year ago? Or
no? I've been talking to people about this, saying, I'd love to become a driving instructor, probably for the last 25 years.
Oh right, wow.
Seriously. And that sounds a bit, you might think 25 years. But to give you a little bit of sort of history of what I used to do, I was always, I've always been in the transport industry, always, ever since I was 18. That's when I first passed my car test. And I ended up becoming a HGV1 driver, which I did for 20 years. And then we moved from Leicestershire to North Norfolk, Cromer. And I had the opportunity, and that's when I contacted yourself.
So how long did your training sort of take you to get through your course? Because you do the online course, then the in-car. So like how long was that taking you to get through that?
I started the training with Blair around about beginning of March, just after the beginning of March. And I completed it. I think sort of middle of August last year, 2022. I then did an additional 40 hours, obviously with Blair, other drivers, all the ADIs, PDIs.
20 or 40? You do 40 in your part.
Sorry, 20. Sorry, yeah, 20. Yeah, 20 hours. Yeah. And then so I did those 20 hours, went out with different people, including yourself.
So you went on a training license?
Yeah, I went on, on September the 19th, I started on a training license. And then went on from there, basically. I had my first attempt in December the 19th, 2022, which would have been a nice Christmas present. But obviously Santa had been a naughty boy.
Yeah, you must have done something wrong. So how long was you on your trainee license before you did that first attempt? So trying to think.
3 months.
Sorry, so you did it after 3. Yeah, you started October, did it in December. Obviously not successful. How did you feel after that? What did I
First failure. I knew why I'd passed.
failed the
Sorry,
first one?
failed.
Yeah.
Failed. Yeah, I
Right.
do apologise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew why I'd failed the first one, which was down to planning,
Right.
and having the wrong student, the wrong pupil. I took a pupil who was overqualified, and there was nothing really to try and fix or see or mend or anything. So it was weak planning, wrong pupil, basically. You know.
So you did that. Obviously, a bit disappointed, fair to say. And did you need to take a second trainee license?
I did. Yeah.
So that one coming, was that easy to get? Did you have to battle for that, or how did that go?
You didn't have to battle for it.
That's so to get a second one, you need to reapply online. Normally, you would do that. And what you must have sent off your proof for your 20 hours. If you don't, they get funny. So that was your journey. You're now at your second attempt. How did you pass? Like, what happened?
The student I picked, he had done dual carriageways, but had never been on the NDR, and that's what I decided to do.
And that was the student I'd went on with you on the Saturday previous.
Yeah, Dylan. Yeah.
So
when the reason I chose Dylan is because he had wanted to go on it, but he had never been on the NDR.
When you say NDR, people.
Sorry.
Yeah. What is an NDR?
It's the Northern bypass, which is dual carriageway with lots of multi-lane roundabouts. Obviously, normal dual carriageway speed, national speed limit 70 miles an hour. This time I planned everything. I started from the test centre. Yeah. Every single roundabout on the Northern Distribution Road around Norwich. I went up there and worked out where I could stop him on each roundabout by going off, but only a few seconds off, because I needed to get him off, turn round, and get him back on again ASAP. To be able to then go on, and if there was a mistake, to be able to go and cover that mistake again.
Got it. Yeah.
So I did that going out and coming back, just in case he made a mistake coming back as well, obviously.
Can I just chip in and ask a question?
Yep.
What was it that made you say, I want to do these multi-lane dual carriageways with that pupil? Was it something he needed to do that you'd seen previously, or was it something you were thinking, that's a subject I would just like to teach? What was your...
The reason, the thought process behind it, to be honest with you, was that a lot of my pupils had got to the point where they were test ready, and there was a couple who had only just started, as
okay, so
as
you were going to do a beginner lesson or someone near
and the pupils that I had as beginners, they literally were absolute beginners. Probably just one or maybe two lessons in. That was all. Which I just thought.
Were you looking for something quite challenging for someone who's nearly test ended? Because I met Dylan and he was at a very good standard, wasn't he? So he would need a challenge. So I understand why. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, and the fact as well, it was that he had asked me, can we go on the NDR? He'd been on the A47 dual carriageway, covering wide junctions, and he had asked me, when can we go on the NDR? And I said, well, you're my man. So that's exactly
that was
what
it. So that was your idea. You got to the test centre. You met the examiner. How was the examiner? Was he or she?
He Brad, ever such a nice bloke, ever such a nice chap. Really was. Really made me feel at ease. I'll be honest with you. I think when I went in there, I think he realised I was, for as much as I have been through it once, you're still nervous.
Well, yeah, it's natural, isn't it, to be?
Yeah. But the thing is, his name was Brad, as I say. He was a really nice person. you know, and he said, you know, just be yourself. He said, don't try and do anything, you know, that's out of the ordinary or anything. He said, just be yourself. He said, and just give the lesson. And we did all the necessary, all the paperwork and everything. We went out to the car, introduced him to, he got in the back of the car, we introduced him to student, Dylan. He explained briefly, you know, to Dylan what we was here for, which Dylan already knew anyway. He then said, he then put the parameters down for me, you know, time-wise and what have you. He asked what we was going to be doing. He said, you know, why have you gone for that? And I said, well, you know, fit to high-speed driving with multi-lane roundabouts. And I said, because that's what he's asked for. That's what he asked for. He's been itching to do it for a couple of weeks. And he's, you know, he's got the opportunity of doing it here. And I've got the opportunity of teaching him how to do it whilst being examined for my part 3.
Did you need to give your pupil a briefing at all?
I gave him a full briefing before we got to the test centre.
Good. So you could just get on with it once you started your lesson.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so yeah, so now, so Brad said what he said. You've been told when to get back by. So you go out. So yeah, just sort of, yeah, what happened in a summary? How did that lesson go?
So basically, then I said to him, we'll cover the first 3 or 4. Then, I'll ask you if you feel happy enough. Then what we'll do then is we'll start putting a little bit of responsibility onto you. And I'll start asking you what you're going to do now, things like this. Then, you know, if you're happy with that, then, you know, we can let you have a go for one of the roundabouts on your own. If there's anything, you know, just, you know, I can just step back in if you want me to, just to prompt you. And that's what we agreed. And by 7 or 8 roundabouts, 6 roundabouts, something like this, it got it, completely got it.
Were there any problems that come up that you needed to adapt the lesson or sort of deviate from your plan, or did anything?
2 things that I missed. One thing that I missed and one thing I sort of did wrong. When we got to the roundabout where I was going to go all the way around and come back, because he'd never been on a multi-lane roundabout. When we approached it, I asked him, and I said to him, the next roundabout, I'm going to go all the way around, come back the other side, taking the 4th exit. Now, because you've never done that before, do you want me to help you with that? And he says, yes. So I talked him through it. But Brad picked that up, that I didn't actually physically ask him, or does he want to have a go on his own?
Oh, it's kind of like a choice of one. It was like he was coerced into like, I'm going to help you, yeah. You've not done this before, so I'm going to help you, yeah?
Correct.
Got it.
And the other thing as well is, you know, what I will say is, you know, just be careful, because I know, you know, you teachers and Blair taught us to, you know, see it, say it, sort it, okay? But to see it is one thing, to recognise it is another. You know, and the one thing I did miss was that when we was coming around the roundabouts, to keep him in lane, I was telling him to go, you know, keep it slow, not too fast.
Right.
Hesitation. Once he'd learnt them, you know, what I didn't say to him was, you know, okay, basically, away you go, get on with it, sort of thing. Let's go. And then if he does anything wrong, then we'll sort it out. And Brad picked up on that. And when we was coming off the roundabouts, there was hesitation from Dylan. He said, not a lot. He said, there was hesitation. And again, what I should have done was recognise that and got him to accelerate more when he came off the roundabouts. He was doing everything right when he came off, checking the mirrors and everything, you know. But
okay, so when he's coming off the roundabout, he's just not making enough progress.
Yeah.
Getting overtaken.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes. Yeah.
Got it. What, you missed that consistently, would you say? Did you miss that problem?
Yeah. He said you missed it a few times. He said a couple of times, he said you did tell him to accelerate off. He said the times he said that you needed to step in, and tell him to get that gas on. He said, you missed it. And that's why I say, I know it gets drilled into us, see it, say it, sort it, but there's a different one as well, recognising it when you're under that pressure.
I can relate to that. When I did my part 3 way back in, it was 2009, and it was the old where the examiner role played.
Yeah.
And part of the topic was set. The examiner decided what it was going to be, and he'd tell you that at the start. How easy is that? Any help with my positioning today, Howard? I'm like, got it. Yeah. So he's like told me what's wrong. Wow, how easy is this? So we drove around this housing estate, and there's a sharp right bend, and he went round there and he cut the corner. Now, it was a 20-mile limit, and when he cut it, I did that, and I went to grab the wheel, but then because there was nothing coming, I kind of just sat back down again.
Yeah.
The examiner spoke to me at the end, and he said, you knew I did that, so I thought, I'm going to go round again and show you that again. I'm going to give you another chance, Howard. That time, I let him do it, but I still knew he was doing it. And then he thought, okay, I've given him another chance, and he's not picking up on it. So then he drove back at the end of the test, back to the test centre. And now we're on a rural road, a 60 limit road with a sharp right bend. And he cut it. And then I grabbed the wheel.
Yeah.
Said to me, and I talked to the pupil, about the risks of doing it and what he should have done. But there was no time to fix it.
Right.
At the debrief at the end, he said, I'm glad you've recognized that fault at the end. He said, but when was the first time I did that? And I went, He said, well, you do, because you actually went to grab the steering wheel. I went, oh, yeah, I remember. He said, so why didn't you? I said, I don't know. I just don't know. He said, what? He said, well, I think I know why you might have. Was it because it was a 20 limit and there was no danger? There was nothing coming? I said, yeah, probably. He said, but what? So why did you grab it on the 60 limit road? I thought, well, because that was so dangerous. And he said, exactly. He said, you let that go, and he said, you saw it, you knew about it, but you decided not to do anything about it. And he said, that nearly cost you a test today. He said, like, thank God you got it at the end. Right. And he let me have it.
Yeah.
So, we used to do 2 tests then. We did 30 minutes like lesson at the beginning and then a 30-minute lesson on the end. So my second lesson at the end, he said, to be honest, that was like really borderline. But your first lesson was very good. And he said, that's, for me, that balances and you've passed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm lucky.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand what you're saying. You might be aware of it, thinking this picture's not quite right, but you're not doing anything about it. And that for me, that lesson there always taught me to thinking, do you know what, he's right, because the next time he does it, I might just have a crash.
Yeah.
So I thought, yeah, John, if I got that gut feeling, trust your gut and say something and do something, because you might not get a second chance. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So there you go. I do relate to what you're saying.
When we came off the NDR, when we went back then to the test centre, we turned right at the final roundabout, so to speak, and went and where the test centre is in Norwich, you go across a couple of roundabouts, and he got close to one of the roundabouts. Close to the curb. And as he went on to the roundabout, he clipped the curb with his back wheel. Right. And I let him get off the roundabout, and I said to him, I said, look, I said, what happened just there? And he said, I clipped the curb. I said, you did. I said, why was that? How did you clip that curb? Why did you clip that curb? And he explained why. I got too close. I was looking at the car coming this way. And I said to him, look, obviously, we haven't got time to go back. said, or even stop at the moment. I said, and have a proper discussion about that. I said, but when we get back to the test centre, I said, we'll have a good chat about that. I said, and when we've dropped that off, I said, then we'll go back. I said, and we'll have a go at that and find out, or go to another roundabout and have a practice to make sure that you're not going to hit those curbs.
So, okay, so you get back.
Mm-hmm.
Test is done. Did you get back on time? Did you?
Yeah,
I
got back.
Say you need to get back.
No,
okay.
He didn't say that to me at all. I got back, and we had literally about 5 minutes to have a debrief, and we stopped. And I said to him, I said, look,
so it's 5 minutes with your pupil.
Yeah.
That's quite long. They normally.
It's probably more like about 4 sort of thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I say 5 minutes. It wasn't. It's probably about 4 minutes.
You only really want. They say you just want 2 to 3 minutes done. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it can go over. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Then we got back, and I said to him, look, I says, first of all, so I'm going to talk to you about what just happened with that when you clip that curb. And he says, yeah. He says, and then we had a good discussion, and the normal, so we know what happened, So how did it happen? He said, just said, I got too close to the curb and something. And I said, so if we went back to not necessarily that roundabout, I said, but a roundabout, I said, what would you do different? How would you do it different? I got him to explain it all,
Yeah.
And then I said, are you happy? I said, for us to go back, I said, and have another go. And he says, yeah. I said, I want to, yes, because I don't want to clip the curb, so I don't want to hit your car. I said, fine enough. I said, so, okay. I said, so the lesson. How do you think the lesson going today? And he says, yeah. He said, I enjoyed it. I said, okay. So why did you enjoy it? And with Dylan, he's one of those lads. He'll say to you, yeah, I loved it. That's it. But you've got to go and say, so why did you love it? Oh, well, I loved it because, this, that, and the other. Okay, so this, that, and the other, what do you feel that you've learned from that, this, that, and the other? And he said, oh, well, yes, it's just high speed, so what about the routine going into it? Yeah, that was pretty good. Well, why was it good? What did you learn from that? Tilting that balance, hopefully, I thought, but I really got him to sort of not just say yeses and nos to it, but really find out exactly what he did learn from that lesson, what he got from those roundabouts.
I said about my test and the examiner I had. Well, that examiner gave me a really good question to ask at the end of a lesson, and so it come from him, and he said he had always asked the pupil, so what would you take away from that? What do you know now that you didn't know at the beginning? So if they cut a corner, so
yeah.
How can you do that? How can you judge it? What would you take away from that lesson? So that's your value for money that they've got. That they've paid for that lesson, and they've got something actual, sort of kind of tangible that they could actually use when you're not there, that they can do that themselves. That's a good question that I always.
That's exactly what I was trying to get him to do. To say what he had learned from the lesson, what he took
out of them, didn't you? They're not going to just give you. He was not just going to say, "Hey, I'm going to give you that." You sort of have to dig it out. Come on.
Yeah.
So how are you going to approach them? When are you going to start breaking? How are you going to judge that? Is there anything tools we gave you today that? Oh yeah, you taught me so and so. Test ended. How long was the examiner away before he come back and give you your result?
Well, we both went into the test centre. He asked me to take a seat. He said, I'll be just a couple of minutes. I think it was probably around about 8 to 9 minutes. It felt like a lifetime. And he sort of a little office door opened up, and he just said Peter, and got up and went in.
So while you were doing that, left people in the car?
Yeah, the pupils in the car. Yeah. And we just went in. He says, take a seat. And he says, how do you think it went? And I says, I don't know. He said, "What?" He said, "Why don't you know?" I says, "I don't know." I says, I says, I explained it before. Well, he knew about the first test anyway.
You're hardly going to say, well, I think I actually nailed it.
Yeah, yeah,
Actually,
yeah,
Pete, I'm afraid that's a fail.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
You're not going to say that, are you?
No, no. And then straight away, he said, "Well," he said, "Congratulations." He said, "It is a pass." What? How about that?
And after that, I bet you didn't hear anything he said.
I heard all of it.
Woohoo!
I heard all of it. Took it
Oh,
all
right,
on
yeah.
board. Took it all on board, including the asking and sort of telling him I was going to, go around that, tell him how to go around that roundabout rather than asking him and letting him have a go. I also listened to every single aspect of the hesitation and what have you, and that's when that's when I come up with the word that recognition. I didn't under the pressure. I knew it, but didn't recognise it, and enough.
So
So
since his feedback where he said you people needs to get on with it, has that made a difference in your teaching since? Has that had an impact?
yes,
So
yeah,
there you go. You take something away from it as well,
yeah,
apart from a green badge.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Because I've always like with my part 3, with my standards checks, the examiner's always given me something that's made a difference
Yeah,
to me. And I think,
yeah,
and it lasts forever. So
mm,
yeah, so that's so important. Like anyone watching this, just trust your gut.
yeah,
Because next time, if you think they're a bit close to a parked car, don't leave it too long, because soon enough that mirror's coming off.
yeah,
And
yeah,
bang! Oh my god!
yeah. Don't leave it
I
till the
knew they
next
were
car.
too close. Well, why didn't you say something then?
Yeah, yeah.
Why didn't
Yeah,
you do something? So you hear it all the time. So yeah,
yeah,
it is experience though. You do, as
yeah.
that does come, doesn't it, with experience?
I had a lot of help, as I say, from Lavinia, Dominic, Ivan, yourself, Blair. Yeah, I've been out with lots and lots and lots of different people and whatever. And every time I went out, I learned something new about how they did their lessons and how I can adapt to do my lessons. But yeah, I'd definitely be. If anybody wants to come out with me, they can do.
Brilliant. All
Yeah.
right, great. Right. Well, we can organise that.
And to adapt it to being something more challenging, if you will, for the pupil, get the pupil to learn more stuff.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good.
Yeah, thanks for doing that. And yeah, I'll share it on the channel so people can sort of see, and hopefully it'll make them feel a little bit more reassured about what they're going into if they've never taken an attempt. And if you're out there and
Yeah.
you failed a first attempt or a second attempt, don't give up.
No.
Keep going, because you can get this done. Believe in yourself, listen to your trainer, go out with other ADIs, do all the things you've done. Hey, thanks for watching, and we're just really happy that we could help Peter achieve his goal of becoming an ADI. If you're one of the many people struggling to pass the Part 3 test, then help is at hand. We've got our DIT Kit Part 3, which you can study from the comfort of your own home. Why not come to Norwich if you want some in-car training? We can help you here. Or you can take one of our Zoom consultations. So just get in touch and let's see what we can do to help you.